All right, thanks all for being here tonight. And it's 6:02, and I'll call our executive board meeting to order. Any changes to the agenda? Right, hearing and seeing none, moving on to the first item of business, our administrative reports. Hey, Gretchen. The link was included in our agenda. Hopefully everyone had a chance to look at it. They look pretty good to me. So I would entertain a motion to approve our April 14th, 2026 meeting minutes. Thank you, Steve Lemke. Second by Bonnie. Thank you. Any discussion, comments, or corrections? All right, hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of approving our April 14th meeting minutes as written, raise your hand or say aye. I see your virtual hand, Bill.
Aye, yep.
All right, that's unanimous. Motion passes. Moving on to our next item of business, our Brookline Town Plan approval and planning confirmation. So the link in the agenda was to the full town plan as drafted, and then Matt later sent around the, here it is, the staff review spreadsheet. Hopefully everyone had a chance to look at that. All right, I'll first entertain a motion that we can discuss if we need to. I'd entertain a motion to approve the Brookline Town Plan as adopted by the Town Select Board on March 18th, 2026.
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Gretchen. Great. Any discussion about the town plan itself or Matt's staff review or any comments, additional comments to Matt's about weaknesses or strengths? And Chris, I'm assuming Matt's not going to be joining us tonight.
Right. He's actually at two separate Act 181 meetings tonight.
Okay, great. Steve Lemke?
I beat the same drum every time. I think the dates of the plan should be on the front cover.
Okay. We'll ask Matt to add that to the comment tool, the comments for the town for future. Any other?
Strong plan, really did.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
I think it was really well written.
Great. So I think we should add, maybe Chris, we can ask Matt to add that the executive board had really favorable comments and thought it was a strong town plan and commends the town on their work.
So under the economic development recommendations in the plan, like supporting Brookline's self-employed individuals and small businesses, access to local, regional, and statewide resources, providing business growth and strategies. I'm wondering, does it make sense to list them for them? Because I don't know if they have the capacity to implement this piece.
Chris, do we have any
I mean, I'm not disparaging Brookline at all, but if you think about Brookline, its location, its capacity, I would say it'd be very limited in anything that they could do. But this is like so many things. Vermont requires all these elements. I've actually suggested, and this was a little bit of an aside, I've actually suggested that one of the things that would be beneficial for all the RPCs to do is like do a comparative analysis of the enabling statutes for town plans in Vermont relative to other states, because we actually make it way too complicated. And it's like, I call it Charlie Brown's Christmas tree. It's got all these little ornaments on it, as opposed to just letting towns plan for what they need to plan for, like just basic land use and not, every little thing. Cause like what's Brookline going to do about childcare? What's Athens going to do about childcare? Yes, we need it. So what are you going to do? I mean, so don't mean to kind of go down that rabbit hole, Gretchen, but it's a good point. To me, it's another example of something that they have to respond to, but not anything to necessarily have the capacity to do a whole lot about, as opposed to like a Brattleboro or Rockingham or something, or Wilmington.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not knocking it. I
Good
mean,
point. No.
at the Southern Vermont Economic Summit, I was just talking about how seldom it is we hear from planning commissions and select boards about, hey, we really need help with economic development and community development. And I wish to goodness we would hear more about that. But
Right.
but for some towns, it doesn't scale. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I was really glad that they did the community survey. And it feels like they had a really strong response to that. I mean, they printed
Yeah.
60 and they got how many back? I think something like, I mean, it was a high percentage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they got 44
Yeah.
back.
Hmm.
it's a great little town.
Yeah, it is.
Eric.
The Brookline School closed how many years ago, the elementary school?
Before I got here, which was 16 years ago.
Okay, so that's a memory from way back. And that building is being used for what? Does anyone know?
It was being used as a daycare, but they moved to Brattleboro, so now they're trying to figure out how to reuse it. So it's one of the 6 or 7 schools in our region now that have closed, and that's a whole other conversation that I'm having conversations with a bunch of people about. Is there some kind of organized effort that we can do as a RPC to support municipalities in talking about how to reuse their schools? What I'm really trying to move them away from, Wilmington's actually, and I saw Meg Streeter today, and she's willing to kind of, talk to folk about it, is that instead of looking at schools in isolation, like just focusing on how do we reuse the school, in every case, it creates an opportunity to talk about what are the community needs and how does the school fit into that? And it actually can create an opportunity to have a really meaningful conversation about what town needs are and how the school fits into that, like the building itself, the asset, and like sometimes how does that then relate to the village, and how does the village relate to the town? And that's the kind of conversation I want to have. And Vermont Community Foundation may be providing some support, or they're trying to figure out, I think, about how to support this conversation, not just here, but statewide. So I saw him, the director, today, and I think we've got a meeting in the offing. But it's a conversation that we need to have many times over across several different towns. Reedsboro actually seems to be in a pretty good position. They seem to be. I think that in some respects, it's actually a helpful thing to them because now they're going to really be able to use the school as a community center.
Mm-hmm. Chris, would it be wise to mention the school building challenge? I haven't read the entire report, but is there any mention of the school building as a challenge for the town or a project?
I don't remember, but they are hyper aware of it because they've got the school building, they've got the meeting house, and they've got the old red circuit round school. So
Round schoolhouse.
I don't think we need to remind them. I mean, you can if you want to. It's your choice as commissioners, but I think they're very aware of it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rick. Bill?
I just want to say thank you, Chris, for trying to foster those conversations. Wyndham School closed. We're having those same conversations here in town, those same concerns. And it's a little bit connected with Act 181 because we're trying to figure out in our case whether the area around the school becomes a zone 1B. And that's a whole other can of worms I don't want to get into, but it's a timely topic to be sure. So thank you for trying to generate conversation about that.
Sure. And I'll just bill it for everybody else. I think there's still some, all tier 1B gets you is Act 250 exemption for 50 units of housing or less on 50 acres or less. So think about real hard about how much effort you want to put into that effort, if that's really going to be something that's going to manifest itself in Wyndham.
You bet. Yeah, well, I'm well aware of that, but thank you.
Yeah.
We're having some developers come and talk to us, and I hear what you're saying. Thanks. I think
Not
we're
trying
going to
to
get a
dissuade
cold
you,
water.
just if you've got other things to work on, you may.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I agree.
Thanks. Any other comments about the Brookline Town Plan? All right, Chris, you'll relay our comments over to Matt for inclusion. And so we have a motion pending. It was, I think Jim made the motion, Gretchen seconded to approve the town plan as adopted by the town select board. Any more discussion?
I just want one thing before you vote. So by statute, only all commissioners can vote on the town plan, but only town appointed commissioner votes count. So Gretchen, not counting you out, you can certainly vote and express your support for it, but if it was like coming down to a close vote, it's only a vote of town appointed commissioners.
All right. Thanks for clarifying. Hopefully it won't be close. But good to say it now before we vote. All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand or say aye for approving the Brookline Town Plan.
Aye.
Thank you. That was unanimous, so motion passes. And then we have our follow-on motion, which is I'd entertain a motion to confirm Brookline's municipal planning process. Bonnie, your hand's up. Is that a motion? Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bill. Any discussion about that? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of confirming Brookline's municipal plan process, please raise your hand. Thank you, Steve Lemke. That's unanimous. Motion passes. Glad to see it was not close, a close one. All right. Thank you, everyone. I know we've had a lot of reading with these several town plan approvals all coming in a row. So I appreciate that that you're taking the time to do this and for your comments. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, which is our quarterly financial report. And then after that, our review of the FY25 audit and report. And thanks, Anessa, for being here tonight. The links to both of those can be found in the agenda. So hopefully people had a chance to look. Nessa, do you want to take whatever order you want to take the items in? I leave it up to you.
Thank you, Gabby. Hi, everybody. I hope you had a chance to take a look. I can share screen as well. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, I think it's helpful to share the screen when we're looking at, I think for financials, if you're going to go through the quarterlies, I think that works well.
Okay, now I need to find the screen. Now I lost the Zoom. Where is Zoom? Okay, here it is. You guys seeing anything?
Hey, we're seeing, oh, there, yes, we're seeing your, there's the balance sheet.
Balance sheet, okay. So we are reporting our quarter from January 1st to March 31st at this meeting. So we have a balance sheet in front of us, which shows our cash position in our checking account, our operating account, which is at 314,879. Then we have accounts receivable that the bills were sent out. Of course, by now everything had changed. We have a little bit of bills, accounts payable to be paid by that time. Moving on to profit and loss statement of expenditures, we can call them. So for the committee, I presented them as the first quarter, that was from October to December, over here column, then column from January to March, and everything total of that compared to the budget, and then we have in percentages. So if anybody have any questions, Nothing really stand out. Everything follows like it should. No programs dropped or anything. We have EMPG still back to March, still in the same situation, still on hold. But by now, I think there's some commotion is going on for that program. Everything is pretty much at the 50%, 50%, the 6 months into the year, end of March. Our expenses starts over here, expenses. Okay. So also at 50%. So yeah. Of course, this negative changed because I added the brownfields billing, so it became positive here by the end of March. So that's it. Anybody have any questions? Comments?
It looks like we're on pretty good track, given that both our income and expenses are at about 56% for the half-year mark. Do you have any concerns? I mean, aside from that EMPG funding that may or may not come through?
Well, I think concerns always would be cash flow. Right now we are close to 400,000 in the bank. Our burning rate is about 160,000 per month. So we will see new cash coming up in July 1st, starting July 1st for the first quarter for ACCD, the core funding. So that will be helpful. But otherwise, we're billing as we can. Transportation gonna pick up more. MERP is also billing pretty good. So I don't have any concerns right now.
I'll just note there was about a $10,000 rescission from this year's Department of Housing and Community Development grant, which is what we call our core funding. Not a huge amount, but what we're anticipating, what's coming out of the legislature is a 3% increase for our state fiscal year 2020. God, what year is it? 2027 budget. So it all kind of comes out in the wash. And also to Anessa's point, it looks like the Emergency Management Performance Grant, that funding may be arriving after all. We may be in a weird situation where there's only so much we're going to be able to do with it, but we'll basically have maybe the full amount available to spend in 4 months. We're not going to be able to do that, and the money will go back to the state, and the state will figure out how to use it. But it looks like that program may be resuming, so that's good news too from a budgetary standpoint, both this year and next. But there's still a lot of details to be worked out because FEMA is still trying to figure out how they're handling the sub-applicants, and I'll get into that in my executive director's report.
Yeah.
Steve Lemke?
Do we still have a line of credit, and with whom?
Yep, we maintain with our M&T, our operating account for 100,000, and we also have with the Brattleboro Savings and Loan.
Great.
We did not use for, I don't know, 4 years or so. Line of credit. Yep. Gabby?
I don't see any more questions. I don't see any more questions.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no, we don't have to take any action on this. This is just our quarterly, our review of our quarterly finances.
Mm-hmm. And we post them at the end of my reporting. We post them on my page, the finance committee. So going forward, if you guys want to take a look, it's there.
Thanks. Do we want to, that's great. Thank you for doing this, Nessa. Do we want to move on to the 25 audit, which looked really good? No deficiencies. Everything looked really excellent. So Nessa.
Thank you. Yeah. So the audit was presented to the finance committee, and finance committee recommended to this committee to acknowledge, I suppose, right? Approve it. There was no any kind of significant findings. There's a complimentary letters that come with that with the audit, and they would point it out at any problems, and we didn't have no complaints. So the audit was performed capturing the fiscal year from October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025. So that's our fiscal year. And if you have to document, if you looked at it, I would point you right to the statement A and then B and C. So we can look at this, what I have in front of us right now. So the approach is the governmental activities. So they combine our operating account with our RLF account, which is in Brattleboro Savings and Loan. So you can see the cash equivalent is high because it's two bank accounts combined, and all other activities, pretty much it's regular operating account activities. Of course, the auditors follow all the standards, generally accepted accounting standards, and they have to state here as a inflow of pension positions and all that stuff. The deferred revenue over here is basically relates to ACCD funding, because our fiscal year starts in October, and their state year starts in July. So the monies that we receive from them become a deferred revenue for us, and then we recognize them as October 1st comes. So the next statement is basically breaking. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Stop. Cancel. I want to go to the next button and rotate. All right. So in here, this statement, basically how they do it, they take all the operating expenses, and they group them by town and regional planning, and then put it against the program revenue right here on the top, and they show that it's at the negative. And then they add other revenue, town assessments and brownfield stuff. So it becomes a different bottom line here. It's just the way they approach that. It doesn't really, necessarily that's how we operate, because it's all combined with the brownfields. Next statement. So I have to rotate other way. So over here, we can see how they break it down actually. So we have the same balance sheet, and the column is for general fund, then revolving loan fund, and then the total. And we saw these numbers already. So that's the balance sheet. The same information. Next one, statement D. It's just the breakdown, same stuff. In the E, statement E, this is our P&L. This is the statement of expenditures for, again, both funds. And in here actually shows us that we ended our year in a negative 67,000, but then they add from last year's cash, all equivalent to the cash over here, this one, 354,000, and we become, the balance of the general fund balance is a positive at the end of the year. But that's how they do it. So in the revenue, they break it down by all these categories as a total, and then expenses. Anybody have any questions? Anything stands out?
No, and I'll just, make clear too that, on page 1, it's the audit firm found that the financial statements that we've been presented over the past fiscal year were presented fairly in all material aspects, which means Nessa's presenting them reasonably and
Mhm.
giving us a fair assessment of where we sit. So that's,
Right,
I think, one of the most important things
Yeah, thank
that
you.
we're looking for,
Yeah.
is that she's doing the right thing and presenting them fairly so we can make our decisions in an informed manner.
Right, right. Yeah, thank you. And I had go ahead, Stephen.
Stephen?
A quick question, Vanessa. I have to admit, I don't know how long we've been using the Smith and Company folks as auditors. Is this the 10th year, the 12th year, or the first year?
Oh, no. It's probably, I can give you exactly the amount. It's probably 4, maybe. It's not 10.
And they're getting, the auditor choices are getting fewer by the year.
Right.
Yeah,
And did you find them not necessarily easy, but cooperative and easy to work with?
oh yes, they're excellent. I have one designated person, John, and he is excellent. He's from north of Vermont. He's very, very thorough. He has a heart of the teacher. I ask him, why you focusing on this and not focusing on that? And basically he explains that mostly depending on the specifics of the auditor. If John has specializes on bank reconciliations, that's what he gonna be nailing down and specializing. So then they put somebody else and they are very good in something else, and
Right.
that they will be paying attention to that. So it's always moving. It's pretty cool, and you can feel that the business is always takes a look at from different angles, through different lenses, not only one person at the same stuff. So I have 2021, the first bill from them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's 5 years, yeah.
And I'll note that another credit to Nessa, that other RPCs dealing with the same auditor and the same audit person staff have not had as easy a time. So I think the fact that, there's positive engagement back and forth with Nessa and them, because right, part of the point of the audit is it is an educational process, right? That the
Right.
accounting standards are changing, and so
Mhm.
it should be a positive exchange, and we should be learning from them. They should be learning from us, and that's been my experience too.
Yeah, we're paying to pay attention. I mean, John gave me, tools how to reconcile and be correct with the revolving loan fund, the other account, because we divide by principal and interest those payments. Yes, I enter that every month, and yes, I reconcile, but it's actually correct or not. So he created this tool for me where I can plug in everything and see maybe there's something that's not matching. So it brings me higher level before they come in. Of course, they're independent, independently doing the job, but I would present in a better, clear way. So hopefully correct way, and they will spend less time on that, less money.
That's great. I think once you get familiar with the auditor's requirements and how it goes, it should get easier every year as long as the numbers are agreeable.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Looking ahead, I think we're gonna be going over the threshold of 1 million of the federal expenditures, and we will be looking at the single audit, which is gonna be 2026 this year.
And then this do we have it in the budget for the additional funds for a single audit?
So that would be upcoming year, because this
Mhm.
year would be ending in September, and then when they will start, that will be our new budget, right? So we would have to think about that. So right now, when we build the budget, then we will put that in. I think it's about 6,000, 7,000.
Yeah, it's usually, and then this audit firm is able to do a single audit as well,
Yep.
right? I would
Yep.
expect.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I did not experience with them yet. I think we did one in 2000 when I started 19, and that was with the PSHEC. That was a very good also experience for me. Very, very good also about teaching you. So
That sounds good. Thanks.
yeah, so this audit is online on the website as well. So it can be shared. The last 3 years are available. Something else I was gonna say. Oh, and indirect rate proposal is also sent out, been submitted, which is based on 2025, this 2025 audit. So I did not hear from them yet. That goes to VTrans auditors. So,
Okay.
and with that, of course, we can talk about later. But with that, I'm keeping everything the same, close to the same.
All right. So I think with this, thank you, Vanessa, for presenting, and congratulations on a really clean audit.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done. And for getting through the audit. It's always an accomplishment in and of itself. So,
Thank you. Yeah. They're very organized as well, so it makes my life easier too.
Makes a big difference. Yeah. All right. With that, I would entertain a motion to accept the FY25 audit and report. Thank you, Bonnie. Do I have a second? Thank you, Gretchen. Motion by Bonnie and a second by Gretchen to accept our FY25 audit and report. Any further any discussion or questions? Good job, Bonnie. Yes. Thumbs up all around, Inessa.
Thank you. Yes. All set, right? So I can get off the meeting.
Yep, we're just going to have a vote. So hold on for 1 second.
Oh.
All those in favor of accepting the audit, raise your hand. Great, that's unanimous. Motion to accept the audit passes. Now you're welcome to leave, Vanessa, unless you want to stay for more.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Thanks for being here.
Bye-bye.
Have a motion and second on that?
It was Bonnie and then Gretchen was the second.
Sorry. Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next item of business, which is, chronic full commission absenteeism, to have a discussion about what, if anything, to do about it, given that, these things impact our ability to meet a quorum and to do the business, transact the business we need to in a timely fashion, or without, overburdening resources or using a lot of internal staff resources, both before and, sometimes during even our full commission meeting. And I think this is sort of coming up now, particularly because we know we will have a vote in November, December, that we will need to have it. I believe it's at least 2/3 of the towns present. Is that correct, Chris?
2/3 of all town appointed commissioners present, so it makes it more complicated because our normal quorum, just as a reminder, is half of all towns in the region that have appointed commissioners have to be represented. So the bar is actually higher because in this case it's all town appointed commissioners. So that, if you recall, when you had a vote, it'll almost a year ago on the regional plan. If you remember, we were scrambling, myself and others, trying to call and rouse commissioners to get on the line so we could just have the vote. 2/3 don't have to vote in the affirmative, but in order to have the vote, we have to have a quorum of 2/3 of all town appointed commissioners present.
Yeah, and Ashley did a lot. We did a lot of work, I think, preemptively, because we knew it was going to be a heavy lift to get those, to get the quorum we needed. And so, just to be clear, like Ashley and Chris and staff, did a lot of emailing and calling and confirming over and over again. And we still were sort of in this position where we thought we were going to have a quorum, because if we weren't going to hold the meeting if we knew we couldn't get a quorum, right? So, and in the end, I think we still needed to sort of scramble. And so Ashley was good enough to put together the attached spreadsheet analysis of all the commissioners for the past 2 years, how many meetings full commission meetings. So this is exclusive, we're excluding any committee meetings or whatnot, but it's just how often they've attended the full commission meetings. And so she just did the town, the name of the commissioner, and the number, the total number they've attended in the past 2 years. And I counted in, it looked like there were 19 total meetings. So you can get a sense of percentage of or average attendance percentage. And then
the shaded blocks, just so everybody knows, that represents when they were not yet a commissioner during that period. So it's after the shaded block.
Yeah. And so some people weren't even available for all 19 meetings, but it gives you a sense. And then I just want to also sort of talk at the bottom is our citizens interest commissioners. And, we don't necessarily expect them to be at every single full commission meeting. They're a resource. And they can't vote, or correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but they can't, they don't necessarily have a vote for, is that right?
On the regional plan and
regional
town
plans?
plans, everything else they can vote on.
Right. So I want to just sort of exclude the last, 2, 4, 6, 8, 11, 8, 9 individuals, commissioners on this list, because we don't really need to worry about them. They're not impacting the quorum. And in fact, when they join, we sort of tell them they don't have to go to every, like they're really there. We'll call them in specifically for things we think we might want their opinions on. So yeah, Bonnie.
A couple questions. If people just step off and then we have less, that lowers the number for the quorum, right? Even though some towns might not even be represented, right? And Rick and I have had conflicts. The 3 boards in Rockingham, the select board and the 2 trustee boards, meet on the Tuesday night. That's the fifth Tuesday in every month, and that's been conflicting with the full commissions a lot.
Yeah, the next one is June 30, and is that a conflict? The next tri-board meeting, Bonnie, is that a conflict with Wyndham Regional?
So that's a problem for us. That's why we miss so many.
But in the scheme of things, y'all aren't part of the problem.
You're actually doing really good.
We're talking about the ones where
So,
they're
so take that for what it's worth. Even with your
Right.
conflicts, you're doing great as compared to some others.
Yeah,
So don't apologize in advance for. But I think what we're looking at is people who, in the past 2 years, for example, there are individuals who have attended 0 meetings in 2 years. All right, like those numbers stand out, or what people that have, 1 or 2, or even I'd say maybe less than 5 in the past 2 years out of 19 or 20 meetings.
Couldn't you just contact their towns, like the head of their select board in their towns, and ask them to look into it and unappoint somebody if they can't attend?
Yeah, I think that's our discussion tonight. Like, what do we want to do this has come up a number of times where we're just like, God, I'm getting old. In the decade I've been on this commission. I've been on many committees about commissioner participation. And I think it really depends on what do we think, what's the impact at this particular moment in time, and how do we want to handle that? And it's always, balancing the fact that we really don't have any control over whether or not what a town does, and encouraging commissioners to participate in not making, but making sure we get a quorum. So there's been over my years, there've been many opinions about how to do that. So I think that's what we're here to do tonight is, given that we know we have a vote coming up, how should we, what does this group want to do given the statistics that we have? And so I think, one option is to say, hey, I think there's several options that people have done in the past. Reach out one-on-one to the commissioner themselves. Do you want to reach out to the towns and say, hey, here's the statistic we have. Can we ask you to either, reach out to the commissioner yourself, or at least unappoint them until you have somebody who is able to better, meet our expectations that they show up to, show up to meetings on a regular basis. We could do something like that. Yeah, Bonnie.
Now that we don't have as many committees, there's probably people on our roster don't really have anything to do.
But if you look at the absenteeism, most of those people were absent when we still had committees. So that wouldn't be I don't think that'd be an important factor.
Yeah, but I'm
In
just.
fact, the chronic absenteeism, most of those people were chronically absentee from those committees too, and that fed into the quorum issues we're having with the committees.
I really like the thought about reaching out to each one that has not attended any of the meetings in 2 years. And like one-on-one, like I would be willing to talk to Jennifer Brunel. And explain that, this is affecting, votes and, like, are you interested still? Do you want to attend these? What do we need to do to help you get there? Especially, I don't understand because people can join remotely. I mean, it's so much easier now. So, that's the way that I would like to see us move instead of, reporting them to the town, because the town probably doesn't even know. I'm sure they don't. So, and maybe by letter, or I don't know I think that it should be a conversation, but
Thanks.
how many do we have that are 0?
We don't have too many that are 0. I mean, I think we want to pick a number, if they've been on the committee. Well, like, and I want to exclude people that maybe didn't have the opportunity to come to many.
Right.
And Bill has a question, Gabby.
Yeah, I'd say there's like 1.
And you can
2, 3, 4,
disregard Ricky Harrington. He's the Somerset Town Supervisor, so really he shouldn't be on that list.
But do they have an appointee to the?
No, and we don't count him as a commissioner.
Okay, so we have like 4 or so that have had 0 for some like significant period of time, just to give people a magnitude of order. Bill?
I agree that the individual commissioners should be contacted, but if they're not very responsive, I would think it would be appropriate to contact the select boards in those towns and say, are you aware that your commissioners aren't showing up? I mean, I think that would be very fair if they could unappoint somebody and appoint somebody else. I mean, I'd contact the individuals first, but if you don't get a response, I don't know why it wouldn't be appropriate to contact the select boards.
All right, thanks, Bill.
Yeah, the easier path would be if they don't want to be on it, then they issue a letter of resignation to the town and to Wyndham Regional Commission. I think that would be the cleaner path.
Steve Lemke?
Speaking from the Personnel Committee and the new Commissioner Handbook that was just created, what I'd like to do is see if we could create a letter that quotes from some of the handbook sections to the individual commissioners and ask them, are they aware of this? Do they know that this is even the meeting schedule and so forth? Because I've seen it many times in different towns where, on March 1st or whatever, when they meet to start the new year, they just say, we need somebody for WRC. Barry, are you okay with that? Sure. I don't know what it is, but I'll do it. Okay, good. And so some of these people are probably innocent by default, not by design. Nobody's actually ever said to them what's required, how often they should do it, why it's important. So I think we should certainly not go to the select boards right away, because that will just be them looking in the mirror pointing at each other. So going to the individual commissioners and getting a response. And I think we could pick out a handful of sort of representative ones to see what kind of response we get to a personal letter going to them to say, this is what we noticed, this is what we'd like to have. Is this a conflict for you? Were you aware of this? That would be my approach rather than, I mean, so it might take a little bit of time, but we might actually learn something about the process town by town.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I know we have a zillion committees here in Rockingham.
Yep.
There's supposed to be a select board on each one of them or something. And they just throw your name out there, you know. I mean, I was on the, I don't know, what, pool committee or something for 3 years. I don't think they ever had a meeting. I didn't do anything about it. So I think what Steve's saying is right. And maybe before you go to the select board, you might go to the planning commission chair.
I'm sorry, I'm having some difficulty hearing you. I don't know if it's your speaker or my ears, but
I don't know. Can anybody else hear me?
Yeah, I think what she's saying, she agreed with you, and then maybe go to the planning commission chair. Although I think sometimes the planning commission chair doesn't have anything to do with like Steve and I are appointed in Guilford, but but the planning commissioner chair has nothing to do with it. It's really the select board.
There's no statutory or other connection with the planning commission and the commissioner.
Right, right. So you wouldn't be necessarily getting them in trouble, but your planning commissioner could maybe tell you a reason why they don't come, or, you know, I don't know, around here, the planning commission appoints, asks the select board to appoint us. That's the way it works.
Got it.
I'm just a little concerned. Not to jump. I'm a little concerned that'll sow confusion since there's no role of the planning commission in the appointment. I think they would go, why are you telling me this? And what do you want me to do about it? Because invariably, if they get something on Wyndham Regional Commission letterhead, which they almost never do, so that would get some attention. They're going to want to know, why are you doing this? And the response would be, maybe you can help. I don't know. Anyway, just wanted to put that out there. It might sow confusion.
Good idea.
Yeah. So maybe what I'm sort of hearing, and jump in if I'm misrepresenting, but it seems like maybe we should have I don't want to say a generic form letter, but sort of a letter that maybe we could pick a handful. And I don't know if we want to pick a number, like somebody who's attended 5 or fewer in the past 2 years or something like this, and send it out to a handful of people that we see a repeat pattern on, and send them an email and ask for a follow-up call with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve?
And I would volunteer to draft something that I'd run by all of you, of course, for any suggestions, additions, deletions, and I'll pull some things from the handbook and reference the handbook. I would just be curious to get something out to them individually and see if they have any concept at all about what we do or what their responsibilities are.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, and I think bringing in the new handbook is a great idea. And I think also maybe get a preamble that says preamble doesn't have to be a preamble, but something that says like, hey, here's why we're knocking on your door, because if we don't have a quorum, we can't, these impact our quorum, and we sometimes have issues making quorum when we need to have 2/3 of everybody there, or we can't even conduct our business or something, like we're not doing this just to do this, to bother you.
And I guess it goes without saying, but I mean, we can handle the mailing out, but I would just suggest this. It'd be clear this goes out under Gabby's signature, because this should be a commissioner to commissioner communication, not. I mean, we could always say I as executive director am communicating on behalf of the executive board and the chair, but I think it would have more impact if it actually went out under the chair's signature. It doesn't have to be an original signed letter. Or obviously we could do a colored signed signature. So I'm not trying to add work to Gabby. I'm just, but I just think that would be more appropriate and effective if you guys were up for that.
I think you're right. I think it does need to be commissioner, and sort of keep you and staff out of
Yes.
it.
Yeah, I agree.
And then maybe if people want to talk, I could put it out to the group and say, hey, does anyone want to, so-and-so ask for a conversation? Does anyone want to be the point person? Like, if, like Gretchen volunteered for Jennifer, I'm assuming because you know her and have interacted with her. For example, like if we might know other people that maybe want to talk more or hear more about what they need to do.
Well, it also makes sense there are two commissioners from some towns and one is attending and one isn't. So there's a natural link right there to say, how come I'm doing this and you're not, in a positive way. So Gabby, why don't I draft something and show it to you, see if you're comfortable with it. If you're comfortable with it, we'll circulate it to the whole group. And then, we'll decide whether it's acceptable to send out to the 5 people to get the first 5 to get a response and see where we are and then go from there. Unless the timing is such that we need to accelerate that and go to more people.
No, I think Chris, what do you think? I think we're being proactive. Our vote's not till November, so I think we have some time.
Yeah, and I think also, I don't even think you even need to vote on this. And I think if you lay out your course of action like it sounds like you are, Steve will draft a letter, Gabby will review it, you'll send it out to the other exec board members, and if they just comment only to Steve on the edits, not a conversation by email. Once everybody's okay with the letter, you're agreeing to the course of action here, we can go ahead and send it. So I don't think you need to wait to vote on anything at the next exec board meeting. You're laying out your course of action now. So I think we could go ahead and work on getting it out.
You're so good, Steve.
Yep, I think that's great. Thanks for volunteering, Steve. And then we'll send it out to anyone who has attended no meetings.
Gabby, did you say no, or did you had suggested 5 or fewer over the time period?
I mean, we could do whatever we want. Do we want to do it in waves, or do we want to pick definitely? No one has shown up. Great. Do we want to do them first, see what the reaction is, and then see if we want to include more? Yeah, Steve?
I would sort of suggest that we get a slightly broader sample than 0. So maybe the group that has attended 0 to 5 meetings out of how many were there? 19 or something like that?
Yeah.
Because there's not a big difference between 0 and 5 in that sequence, except that the 0 person might say, I'm not a member of that anymore. I resigned 2 days after they told me I was a member. So I think it's going to be interesting. This is more of the research that goes into the handbook. It's one thing to put it in the handbook, but how much do people really know when they're appointed by the select board in 10 seconds on March 18th?
Is everyone okay with that the approach that we've laid out? So Steve will draft, I'll review, we'll send it out to everybody, and then to anyone, we'll then send it to. We'll send it out to the executive board, and then we'll send it out to anyone that has attended 5 or fewer.
All right.
Yeah, Jim?
Sounds great.
Got a couple of things I was holding off on that. Looked at a couple of studies, and where it might sound counterintuitive, saying that by having meetings virtually, you're going to have better attendance. That relates directly, the studies I saw, rates directly to your audience. And I'm not talking about old people don't want to do stuff on the computer. I'm talking about people that have a tendency to say, well, it's just an online meeting. It's not as important as a in-person meeting. There's a couple of interesting studies about mixing meetings so that you have a few in-person and a few online, and they've shown some improvement in attendance based on that. And again, it's going to depend a lot on the target group that we're sending it out to. And like I say, don't get confused with, old people don't want to do stuff on computer. It has to do with, their work ethic and whether or not they think online meeting is something that's productive. There's another study out that says if you have donuts at a meeting, you're going to have better attendance. So, I'm serious. And the thing that brought most attendance to meetings was personalized appearances from semi-famous people, a guest speaker occasionally. Yeah. There's a bunch of studies out there, and I think we can pick and choose the ones that'll help in our particular case to foster better attendance. I chair a bunch of committees, and it's not just Wyndham. I'm seeing that through all of the committees that I'm on. Attendance is very, very marginal, and so if anybody gets any great ideas, good Lord, put it in the mail to me.
Yes, it's good thinking. I'll just note one of the blessings of the pandemic was we were struggling mightily with quorums before the pandemic. And once we went remote, the problems just kind of went away. This is much more of a chronic issue. I can't remember the last time we did a survey. I think it was like a year ago, where we surveyed people asking about like in person, remote, and other preferences. And I'm pretty sure there was a question there too. I think it almost came back that people like the idea of hybrid meetings and meeting in person, but they weren't going to show up in person.
Yep.
So it's kind of like it was almost like they liked the notion of having that availability, which we do. That's why I'm sitting here in the office instead of sitting at home in Townsend. And so we have that option for people to gather in person, but usually it's only on occasion Lynette Hamilton, who I think has connectivity issues, who shows up. But I'm happy to have donuts here and ice cream and cake and whatever. I'll draw the line at food because we're not supposed to serve alcohol, but some other RPCs do that. They have a wet bar ahead of the meeting, and that makes me a little nervous.
I don't think people should be voting on things post drink.
Good.
All right, so I think we have a path forward. Does anyone have any issues with the path forward? And we could talk maybe more once we get responses back as to maybe what are the barriers to participation.
Can I recap, Gabby, just to make sure I'm clear?
Yep, Steve Lemke volunteered to draft something. Yep. He's going to send it to me for review. Once we're on the same page, we'll send it out to the executive board for their sort of review and blessing. And then once that happens, we will we'll ask staff to send it out to any commissioner who has attended 5 or fewer meetings with my signature.
That's what I've got. Awesome.
Did I get anyone? If I got that wrong, somebody speak up.
Your motion?
No, we're just gonna do it.
Okay,
not really sitting. Yeah, you were ready to. I like it, Bonnie. You were ready. All right, thank you. That's good discussion and thoughts. And I'm sure
I'll really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm sure this will come back to us once we have some feedback once we sent it to commissioners. All right, I'm going to move on. Next item on the agenda is appointments. We don't have any, and that leads us to Chris's executive director's report.
All right. So hiring update. We advertised to put out this is to replace Alyssa's position, fill Alyssa's position. She's vacating. We advertised for a planner, and it's been great. I sent out notices to the universities we've been working with, and also posted to the Northern New England chapter of the American Planning Association, and also Vermont Law and Graduate School. But just out of that, without paying anything, we've gotten 6 really qualified candidates. 4 of those 6 are students who've worked with us, either through UMass, Conway, or actually 5, or UVM. And so I wasn't that wasn't the reason why we've been collaborating with the universities, but the great thing about that is they've already worked with us. They already have some familiarity with the region and some familiarity with the context. There's one candidate out of Florida who went to Tufts. So that's the only one that we've not worked with yet. They're also all about to graduate. One has graduated. They're all about finishing to matriculate either out of UMass, Conway School, or UVM. And assuming one of the candidates is appropriate and will work out, one of the benefits of having a non, and also Colin as recent graduates, is they just bring in vision and also, frankly, just skill sets and, like means of modern communication, things that some of us older planners don't have. So staff are kind of looking forward to having someone new. The other thing that we've discussed is this person would report directly to Matt Bockler, as opposed to reporting directly. So, because with my travel schedule and other work schedule, it would be good to have somebody working directly as a supervisor and mentor. But also critically for Matt, he is our primary point person on municipal planning. And so when people call, they tend to call Matt first. And this will give Matt somebody directly to kind of help follow up with. And that's going to be one of the best ways for this new planner, especially if they're new to the region and, somewhat new to the profession, to really kind of learn. And the other thinking, Jim, we've not nailed this down yet, but my thinking is, just like we put Alyssa on project review when she just started here, the thinking is that myself, I would coach that person to take over the project review role, because that's also the best way for somebody to learn the Windham regional plan. Because it's not overly complicated, but I think it's an excellent way for them to learn like the regional plan and then get them working on the town plans. Now, the other thing that is new is, right, we weren't sure if emergency management performance grant was going to materialize. And so when we put this out, we did not say we're hiring an emergency planner. But right now the thinking is this person would basically take over the task, look very much like what Alyssa did. And thankfully on the emergency planning stuff, I've always had to assume the roles of whatever staff person leaves. So I've been our transportation planner, natural resources, I've been everything. But I'm really well versed in the emergency planning stuff. And so even though Matt would be like the direct supervisor, I will be coaching them through on EMPG and project review. So that's the plan. Just wanted to give you guys an update on that. And we'll start the interviews next week. They're all going to be in person except for the candidate from Florida, because we're not going to make them travel all the way up here for a 45-minute interview. But we've made it clear it does not, participating remotely does not prejudice the decision making whatsoever. So any questions about that? All right. Regional plan meeting. We had a meeting last week. I'm forgetting the day now. It was not heavily attended. In fact, most of the attendees were actually commissioners, and we had a couple of relatively new commissioners attend. But there was no, it was really good, because what we were able to do is kind of lay out not like just what Act 181 is, but what the regional plan is and what it does and how it works in Act 250, and that, and then what a town plan is, and that town plans and regional plans have the exact same, statutory standing in Act 250, Section 248. We got into some good discussions about what policy language, the strength of it makes a difference in Act 250 and Section 248, the shalls, musts, wills versus consider, yada, yada, yada. Interestingly, in our resource, what we used to call resource lands, now it's rural conservation, we have very non-prescriptive language in there. So to the extent people were concerned that was just mimicking Tier 3, in the world of Act 250 deliberations, we strongly encourage stuff. We don't say shall, must, will. So anyways, I think it wound up being a really positive conversation. I think people who had some concerns about the regional plan affecting their property, left feeling much better. We also talk in there about regional significance and how the regional plan defines that, and how our project review committee works. That even if it's a minor or one that's deemed to not be regionally significant, we may still offer comments, but that where we're really going to engage is going to be on the regionally significant projects. And it's really going to be where we planted that flag on the shall, will, must language. So it was a really good public meeting. Our next meeting is going to be the fully remote one on the 20th at 6 o'clock. And I expect that one's going to be better attended. We had the in-person meeting was on the 4th floor at Winston Prouty, which incidentally has one of the most amazing views of Brattleboro in the entire area. Steve?
Chris, did you record these meetings?
We did not record the in-person one. We'll
Okay.
record the remote one.
All right, thank you.
We don't really have the capacity to record an in-person one.
All right, thanks.
I mean, I guess we could theoretically, but it would assume reliable Wi-Fi and all that other good stuff.
No, that's all right. I just thought if it was easily available, we'd take a look at it. So,
one thing for June exec board meeting, I will be on vacation. Right now, I have no agenda items for you guys from a staff perspective. I'm not aware of anything that you guys have, but I'm sure I can find another staff person to support that meeting if you feel like you need to meet. But right now, I'm not seeing a need.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a bunch of full commission meetings too in the past, like we sort of front loaded quite a bit, and we'll have more as it comes towards, having to approve the regional plan. So I would say if we don't need to meet, let's not meet, but let's have the discussion like a week before the meeting, and I'm sure Matt or somebody will, like that he's done in the past, can take the meeting if necessary.
Yeah, I've already Sue Westo, our associate director, will be available if we need to, if you guys need to meet. So no worries about that. I wouldn't be there. And I mean, if it's really, really critical, I might get an askance look from my wife, but I could probably meet with you from Cape Cod. So
I don't think so, Chris. You're banned.
The other question, so because we are going, usually, we by statute and by bylaw, the commission has to meet 6 times a year, and we've purposely, I don't know if you remember, begun to front load the meetings so that we have flexibility on the back end. This year, we know we're going to have at least 3 meetings in autumn. So at least an August annual business meeting, and then a meeting in November or December to vote on the regional plan, unless, and we can talk about this, but we'll see what's in 325. Right now, the language in there will require us to have the plan adopted by the end of the year. There had been some thinking that they may give regional commissions until December 2027, which I would not want to spread this out, but we could have vote at the regular January meeting, but I don't think that's going to be an option. So I guess the question is, well, I talked to if you want to have a June full commission meeting, and I don't see a problem. And then also, I'm assuming we're going to have the budget we would have money in the budget to have an in-person gathering in October, like we have been. And I think that's a good, healthy, face-to-face opportunity for people to meet, even though we don't do any business there. Though of course you certainly could. But what I was thinking, if you want to have a June full commission meeting, because otherwise you're going to have a break between, from May until August, which could be fine. It's just a pretty long break in there. I also don't want you to meet just to meet. But what I talked to Jeff Nugent about was there's this new community outdoor recreation economy toolkit, and we were thinking it might be helpful to introduce the commissioners to its availability and what it is. And he and I were wanting to pilot it, just kind of have a general meeting about what it is and maybe pilot it in a community. This would not be like a big deep dive. We're not talking about developing a whole community outdoor recreation economy plan, but literally just walking planning commissions or groups, active in towns about how to use this toolkit. So I was thinking that Jeff and I could just present that to the full commission, and the main business that you would do and then it would be good to have the full commission get the finance report and also accept the audit. So that would be the main business item. But I guess, do you have a preference or pleasure? Would you want me to come up with another topic for June, or? Is that okay?
I mean, I'm not too concerned. I mean, I want to make sure that people, we make the quorum when we need it, and for our annual meeting and for November. I know the summer's tough, and summer's tough with people anyway. They're traveling a lot, so I would say we don't need. I mean, if we know we're going to have it in August, I'm not inclined to have a June. If we don't need to have a June or July, I'm not inclined, and just let people know, hey, we're not going to have these 2 months of meetings, but we really need you here in August.
I don't think they mind. I don't think you'd hear screaming from the rafters.
Bill, did you have a comment? And then I see Steve Lemke's hand.
No, I did not have a comment.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were talking. Yeah, Steve Lemke.
We don't have to have a meeting to have updates if something's being circulated, like from the letter to the commissioners or something like that. So I think some of these topics can be just updates on things that are happening, and then looking forward to an August meeting rather than a June, July meeting, whatever. So that would be my take.
That's a great idea.
Give them the summer off. They'll like that. Okay. Because they have been working hard. I mean, they've been doing a lot. So, okay. All right. So no June the executive board and no June full commission meeting, and I'll have Ashley send out a notice about, please with the August date. I think go ahead and hold the October date for an in-person meeting. And then we will start the poll for when people are going to be available in November and the first week of December, so that we can nail down on people's calendars, be ready to have that vote to adopt the regional plan. So that's what we had agreed to. That's what the full commission agreed to at your all's last meeting on that schedule. So does that sound good?
Yep.
Sounds good, Jim.
When were you going to talk about that outdoor rec toolkit?
We would just host a web. Jeff and I would still just kind of do a training around that and invite towns. So we'll figure out that. I need to get
in that.
Jeff is about to go to Ireland, so he and I are going to connect on that after he gets back from Ireland for 2 weeks.
Yep.
I'm assuming he'll come back. So okay. Next, so I've been working with you. I've mentioned this before. I've been continuing to work with universities and students. So University of Vermont, Master of Public Administration, capstone class, developed a report on what councils of government are and how they work. And I also asked them to look into surveying people about what do people mean when they talk about regional governance and regionalism and shared services. And of course, the definitions were all over the place, which is exactly what I thought. So I will share that report out to everybody. It doesn't say councils of government are good, we should do them. It's just basically does more research into what they are, how they're used. And one of the things that I thought for our October full commission meeting, what I was thinking was invite Linda Dunleavy, the executive director of Franklin Regional Council of Governments, up to talk about how they do intermunicipal shared services through their council of governments, to kind of demystify that. Again, through that too, down at FERCOG, their model is there's no loss of any town control. Towns remain utterly in control. But the great thing is, if you look at their shared purchasing around transportation stuff, it is a huge list, and towns just check off what they want and how much of it. And then the ones who contribute the money to it, they get it. And there's a professional purchasing officer at FERCOG. They just do it, and it happens. It is awesome. And that's like shared purchasing, but they do similar things on down there. They do like building inspection and other stuff. And so they either contract out or have on staff the person who does that work. the towns that contribute money to it, they get the service. Those that don't, they don't. But there's no pressure either way. But I just thought commissioners might be really interested in hearing about how they work because Franklin County looks a lot like our region. So it's not like it's some foreign land. So anyway, just any questions about that?
No, I think that's great. And I think people are really interested in that topic. So I think that'll encourage people to show up in person.
Okay. And then work with an undergraduate class is going to be a multi-semester class. Amy Seidel with the Rubenstein School teaches a climate resilience class, and I myself working with staff person at Vermont Emergency Management and Elise Shadler, who's the director of the state Urban and Community Forestry Program. We're working with this class to develop a municipal flood buyout guide. In other words, how municipalities can reuse buyouts, everything, from like just revegetating with native plants and managing for invasives to creating parks or other uses that would be allowed under the FEMA rules and under the town's own flood hazard bylaw rules. So they're off to a great start, and that'll continue in the spring of next year. We've got I've been working with the Conway School this semester. They developed a guide to walk communities through flood adaptation of historic villages. And so what it does is basically says it's kind of a step-by-step guide. Like 1, identify your risks, invite a river a river engineer to come, walk with the planning commission and select board through the town to talk about the risks. 2, identify areas that are least likely to flood. 3, are your zoning or other planning and other, are there ways to do infill development in those least likely to flood areas? 4, are there areas adjacent to the village or in close proximity where you can begin to kind of grow up and away? And so it's basically just good planning 101, but it's a very concise guide. And we used Newfane Village, Grafton Village, and Wardsboro villages as pilots to kind of show examples. And so we'll be sharing that out with everybody. We have it posted to our website. The guide is 90 megs in size, so I think Jeff may have decompressed it a little bit or compressed it. So we won't be sending out the PDF directly, but we'll be sending out the link to our website. But I think it came out really good. Thank you, Rick.
For being here, Rick. See you next time.
And I already mentioned EMPG. It looks like that's coming back. And then last time I talked way too much about the deposition. It went just fine. I'm kind of glad I had the experience just to see what it's like. It was odd to sit there for 2 hours and basically have somebody try to, make you think like you don't know anything about anything and aren't qualified to comment on anything. But it's not something I would like. It's like a root canal. It's not something I would like to go through all the time. But the attorneys with Connecticut River Conservancy, they're the ones who were there present on the Connecticut River Conservancy side. And so they objected and yada, yada, yada. All of it went just fine. So kind of glad I had the experience. And now that I know what a deposition is like. And that is my report. Any questions for me? Okay. And sorry, we're going way over. Apologies.
All right. Thanks for the updates, Chris. Moving on to committee chair reports. This is anything that committee chairs think the broader group needs to know that's not already written in the notes or you want to specifically call out. Yeah, Jim?
Just very, very briefly, the Project Review Committee met on the 5th of May. Only 2 projects that we'll be looking at. And like Chris pointed out, we had ones that we found no regional significance, but we also submitted a letter to them because we noticed in their planning they didn't have a demolition. When the project's all done, let's break it up and return it to the state that it was before we started. So we wrote a letter like that, and we had some interesting conversations with the Hiram Properties project. Again, not regionally significant, and we're going to go with comments made by Agency of Natural Resources. We spent a bit of time thanking Alyssa for being the senior planner for the committee and all the stuff she's done, and we're going to miss her, but I'm sure one of these young people that Chris is going to come up with is going to fill the void nicely. And that's really all I had.
Great, thank you, Jim. Anything else from anyone else?
Just a question. When's Alyssa's last day?
May 31st, I think.
Okay. I just wanted to get a note out to her.
And we're staff are let's see, Friday we're having a gathering at the marina, just kind of a send off.
All right, any other things from chairs or? All right, hearing and seeing none. Next up is public comment. Is there anything people want to bring up that was not on today's agenda? All right, seeing and hearing none. Next item is review of action items. We did not have any, and I think we still will not have any next time, so nothing to review there. And then our last item on our agenda is adjournment. Thanks everyone for staying late. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. I have a second by Steve. Everyone. Non-debatable motion. All those in favor of adjournment, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's unanimous. Thanks everyone for staying on, and nice seeing everyone.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye. Take care, everybody.
Oh, I should have said meeting adjourned at 7:23 p.m.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Kitty.
Bye, Chris.
All right.